Hello dear friends, welcome to fresh online lecture series on heat transfer. This is our very first lecture on this subject, so we will begin with introduction to this course. So let's begin. So in today's lecture we will only do introduction to this course as well as the content of this course. This subject is 5th semester subject in mechanical engineering. What is heat transfer? Heat transfer is the science that seeks to predict energy transfer that may take place between material bodies as a result of temperature difference. So as we all are aware that whenever there is a difference of temperature between two bodies, then there will be a transfer of heat from a hot body to the cold body. So the energy transfer that occurs during this transfer of heat is studied in the subject of heat transfer. It also helps to predict the rate at which the exchange of heat will take place under certain specified condition. The meaning of rate is the exchange of heat with respect to the time. So how fast or how slow the heat transfer is happening, that is also can be studied in the subject of heat transfer. The subject of heat transfer seeks to provide the answer to the following questions. First is possibility of removal or addition of heat at the desired rate. Second is temperature distribution existing within the system. Third is amount of heat to be transferred, and final one is time taken, that is duration of heating or cooling for a certain duty and the surface area required to accomplish that duty. So here if we see 4 points in a one by one, then first is possibility of removal or addition of heat at a desired rate. So if we are having a body which is at different temperature than the environmental temperature, if it is higher than the environmental temperature, then there is a possibility of removal of heat and vice versa. Second is temperature distribution existing within the system. So let us consider that we are having a road, steel road, which is heated at one end. So there will be a temperature distribution or a temperature distribution existing within the system. So that can be obtained. Third is amount of heat to be transferred, that is the value of Q, that is the heat energy which is transferred. And fourth is the time taken, that is the duration of heating or cooling for a certain duty and surface area required to accomplish that duty. So this is exactly what we do in case of heat transfer. Now modes of heat transfer. You might have studied the different modes of heat transfer during the 12th science subject of physics. So here we will revisit them again and we will go through them one by one in detail also. First is conduction. Conduction, it is the mechanism of heat propagation from a region of high temperature to a region of low temperature within a medium. A medium can be solid, liquid or gases. So it can be solid, liquid or gases, or between different mediums in direct physical contact. So here it is the propagation of heat from a region of high temperature to a region of low temperature. Now second mode of heat transfer is convection. It is a process of energy transport affected by circulation or mixing of a fluid medium, which can be gas liquid or powdery substance. So here it is written that circulation or mixing. This part will be explained later in this lecture. And third is radiation. Radiation is the transmission of heat in the form of radiant energy or wave energy from one body to another body across an intervening space. So let us say that we are having two bodies which are located at far away from each other, and there is a medium between them. So heat transfer will occur in form of radiation or wave motion from one body to another body. And we will study all these three modes in detail one by one. Now we will see the course contents. Here this will be the syllabus of our entire subject throughout this semester. Our first chapter is steady state heat conduction, in which temperature is considered as constant with respect to time. Then we are having heat transfer from extended surfaces and transient heat conduction, in which there will be a variation of temperature with respect to time. Let me specify here that the current lecture is not part of first chapter. You can consider this lecture as zeroth chapter of this entire syllabus. So this is just an introduction to this course. So in our next lecture we will begin this chapter number 1, which is entirely dedicated to the conduction part only. Second is convection, obviously, and third will be a radiation part. So these are the three modes of heat transfer which will be studied one by one as a separate chapters in this subject. Fourth is the heat exchanger. These are special devices which are used to transfer heat from one body to another body. And fifth is two-phase heat transfer, in which we will see the phase changes. So all in all, these are all 5 chapters that we are going to study during this semester in this subject, and we will begin with chapter number 1 in our next lecture. Now regarding the reference books that you should refer for this subject. One by one, all books are written over here. You can pause this video and note down all these books, and you can follow any of them, and these are prescribed by the university. And during my lectures will be inspired from first book, that is Heat Transfer in SI Units by J.P. Holman and Sauvik Bhattacharya, as well as the second book, which is Heat and Mass Transfer by D.S. Kumar. So I will be following book number 1 and book number 2 during this semester. Now our next topic is thermodynamics versus heat transfer, or what is the difference between thermodynamics and heat transfer, that we are going to study now. First is thermodynamics is concerned with equilibrium states of matter and precludes the existing of temperature gradient. For heat exchange, temperature gradient must exist, and as such heat transfer is inherently a non-equilibrium process. So let us take an example of thermodynamics here. So if we go by our standard thermodynamic problem, Let us say this is the value of pressure. This axis denotes pressure here, and on the abscissa we are having volume. So let us consider in a piston cylinder arrangement we are having expansion process. Then let us say it is happening in this way, that pressure is reducing and volume is increasing, which denotes the expansion process. So in case of thermodynamics, what we were having, that we were given two things. This will be our point number 1 and this will be our point number 2. So in case of expansion, we were given the states of P1 and P2. Let us say that during our studies of thermodynamics we were given the value of P1, V1, T1, and here we were given the values of P2, V2 and T2. So we were calculating work done or the amount of heat exchange that happened in such processes, and we were told that point number 1 and point number 2, that is the states, are in equilibrium condition. So we were not going by how we are going from T1 to T2 or how the heat exchange is happening. So in thermodynamics we were considering these two states as equilibrium states, and then we were calculating the work done or amount of heat as per the laws of thermodynamics. However, we need to also know about the how we are going from T1 to T2. That is, actually the journey from T1 to T2 is actually non-equilibrium condition. So that we will study in case of heat transfer. That we will study in heat transfer. So as you can see, if we repeat this point again, thermodynamics is concerned with equilibrium states of matter, and it precludes the existence of temperature gradient. For heat exchange, temperature gradient must exist, and as such heat transfer is inherently a non-equilibrium process, which is explained with that figure. Now second is, thermodynamics helps to determine the quantity of work and heat interactions when the system changes from one equilibrium state to another one. So this is also explained in our previous figure. The analysis, however, does not provide any information on nature of interaction and time rate at which the interaction occurs. So what will be the time required to go from state number 1 to state number 2 is not provided by the thermodynamics. Thermodynamics only describes how much heat is exchanged during the process without caring to explain how it could be achieved. So this is achieved in case of heat transfer. Few more points on thermodynamics versus heat transfer. Heat transfer helps to predict the temperature distribution, which may be function of both spatial coordinates and time within the region of matter. So here spatial coordinates means x, y and z coordinates, and time. So here it is trying to say that if we consider, let us say that if we consider temperature, so in case of heat transfer we will consider that here temperature is function of x, that is x coordinate, then y coordinate, then z coordinate, and then t. Sorry, we will not write down t here. Instead, we will write down tau, because we have used T as a temperature. So here what I am trying to say is that these are spatial coordinates which is related to space, and this is our time. Okay, so temperature depends on two things: spatial coordinates, that are x, y and z, and time, which is here tau. And heat transfer, now again back here in the slide, heat transfer helps in determining the rate at which the energy is transferred across a surface of interest due to temperature gradient at the surface and temperature difference between different surfaces. So it helps in obtaining the rate of heat transfer as well as temperature differences between heat transfer will help in determining the heat transfer flow rate. Okay, now we will take one example of hot steel rod exposed to air. Let us say that we are considering a this is a very hot rod, okay, and it is exposed to air. Then let us say that this is at 50 degree Celsius and our atmosphere is at 25 degrees Celsius. So obviously the heat transfer will take place from hot rod to the air. Now let us say that obviously after some time this hot rod will reach to the environmental temperature. So what does heat transfer do? That the time which is required to return to the environmental temperature, that time is obtained with the help of heat transfer. How much time this hot rod will require to reach the environmental temperature is tau, that is obtained in the case of heat transfer. Second is the quantity of heat Q which is transferred from this hot rod to the environment is also obtained through heat transfer. And third thing is, let us say that this, for example, if we consider that this entire rod is not at a constant temperature, or we can also take another example for this. Let us say that here we are having another rod which is cold, and we are providing heat at the left hand side like this. Here we are heating this rod. So what will happen, that the hottest part in this rod will be leftmost part, and from here onwards the temperature will keep on increasing and there will be a temperature gradient existing between the whole road. That is, here temperature will be more and here it will be less. So this temperature distribution, that is, let us say dt by dx, can also be obtained with the help of heat transfer. Okay, so this is the point I wanted to explain you with the help of example of hot roll. So we have studied about example of hot steel rod exposed to the air. Now the heat transfer theory can be expressed as this simple equation, that heat transfer is nothing but thermodynamics plus rate equations, that is the time equations. Okay, so this is the difference between heat transfer and thermodynamics. Now we will move forward with our next theory, which is modes of heat transfer. During our course introduction lecture, we will simply go through the basics of modes of heat transfer, and then we will study the fundamental laws governing these modes of heat transfer. So first is conduction. So conduction is a mechanism of heat propagation from a region of high temperature to a region of low temperature within a medium. Medium can be solid, liquid or gas. Or between different medium in direct physical contact. Now it does not involve any movement of macroscopic portion of matter relative to one another. Now this can be understood after we study about convection. For a time being, this entire conduction process is happening at microscopic level. So here there will not be any involvement of microscopic form of heat transfer. Conduction can occur in two possible ways. First is thermal energy may be transferred. Thermal energy may be transferred by means of electrons which are free to move through the lattice structure of the material. As you all are aware of our atomic arrangement, there are some free electrons which can move through the lattice structure of the material. So thermal energy can be transferred through these free electrons, or alternatively it may also be transferred as vibrational energy in the lattice structure. So there are two possible ways. First is free electrons and second is vibrational energy in lattice structure. Now as you all are aware that atoms and molecules vibrate in accordance with the temperature of the whole body. So they will be vibrating if they will be more vibrating if the temperature is high and vice versa. So now we are going to take a simple example for understanding the conduction process. So first of all, we will understand this figure for conduction. Here this horizontal part is a metal rod, and we have attached 4 thermometers at different locations, and at the rightmost bottom part we are having heat source. So what we are going to do is heating this metal rod at the rightmost part. So from here heat will transfer from right to left, and here this heat source is separated from this portion by a protective sling. So here, as you can see that with the thermometers that we are having here, sorry, here the rightmost thermometer is providing the highest temperature, and it keeps on decreasing as we move from right to left. And this is the way we can observe the changes in the temperature as we move from right to left. So we will study this. Consider the flow of heat along a metal rod, one end of which is placed adjacent to flame. The elementary particles composing the rod which are in immediate vicinity of flame gets heated. So here these elementary particles can be atoms, molecules or electrons. These elementary particles gets heated in the immediate vicinity of flame, that is the rightmost part. Due to temperature growth, kinetic energy increases, and this puts molecules, atoms and free electrons in violent state of agitation, and they will start vibrating about their mean position. So as the temperature increases, here on the rightmost part, molecules, atoms and free electrons will start vibrating in very violent manner. And what will it result in? This more active particles will collide with less active particles and transmit energy to the latter. So what does this mean? That suppose, let us say here we are having some electrons which are vibrating, so they will collide with the neighboring particles, that is electrons, and similarly subsequently all will start vibrating. However, the intensity will not be same. The vibrations will be most violent here, and this vibration will keep on decreasing here, and similarly the temperature will also will be lesser than the rightmost part. So this process is repeated layer after layer of molecules until it reaches the another end of the rod. The rate of heat flow between two ends depends on the length of the rod. Second is the temperature difference between two ends and the physical and chemical composition of the bar material. So the rate Q of heat transfer depends on these factors. Now the rate equation for one-dimensional steady flow of heat by conduction is prescribed by the Fourier's law. And Fourier's law is given by Q is equal to minus K A dt by dx. This is only applicable for one-dimensional, as written over here, one-dimensional steady flow of heat by conduction, where Q is heat transfer rate, A is area of heat transfer surface, dt is temperature difference for a short perpendicular distance, dx. dt is the temperature difference for a short perpendicular distance, dx. K is thermal conductivity, which is characteristic of surface material. Now regarding this thermal conductivity, we will have a separate topic of this in our next chapter and next lecture. So here, why we are having this negative sign over here? So as the temperature gradient is negative in positive x direction, the minus sign is provided so that it gives the positive flow. So what is the meaning of this? So it is trying to say that as the distance x increases, temperature T decreases. So this dt by dx term will be negative. So if we don't put this negative sign over here, then Q will be negative. So to keep this quantity Q as a positive, we are in advance putting a separate negative sign. So as dt by dx will be negative, it will minus minus will get plus, so q will be positive in our answer. For that reason we are providing a negative sign in this Fourier's law. Now let us say that delta is the path length in direction of flow. So instead of dx, let us say delta is the total path length, and instead of dt we are having T1 minus T2 as temperature difference. Then this q can be modified as q is equal to Ka T1 minus T2 divided by delta. Now if you see, generally delta T is written as T2 minus T1, that is final minus initial. So here this minus sign is taken inside, so instead of T2 minus T1, T1 minus T2 is there. Okay, so this is the equation which is in non-differential form. And another definition is there. Heat flux is defined as heat conducted per unit time per unit area. So in this equation, if you focus on this equation, if we take this heat transfer surface area, if we take this area on the left hand side, that is Q divided by A. If we take Q divided by A, then it will become the heat flux. I haven't written a separate equation for this, but you can easily understand that Q by A will be equal to K into T1 minus T2 by delta, and it is denoted, this heat flux is denoted with small q. So you can add a separate equation over here also for that. So this is the basics of conduction. Now second mode of heat transfer is convection. Now convection is a process of heat transport affected by circulation or mixing of fluid medium, which is gas, liquid or any powdery substance. So here we will understand that what exactly the meaning of circulation or mixing of fluid medium. It is possible only in fluid medium and it is directly linked with transport of medium itself. So this is microscopic type of heat transfer which can be felt or it can be sensed easily with naked eye. Macroscopic particles of fluid moving in the space cause the heat exchange, and thus convection constitutes the macro form of heat transfer, and it is classified in two categories: natural or free convection, and second category is forced convection. In free convection, circulation of fluid medium is caused by buoyancy effects, that is by difference of densities of cold and heated particles. Now the next is convection currents. The circulation pattern, that is upward movement of warm air and downward movement of cold air, is known as convection current. So we will try to understand this entire slide with a simple example so that you can easily understand what is the circulation or mixing as well as what is the convection current. So here now we will consider a simple example for this. Let us say that this is a container we are having, and on this container in which air will be present. Okay, so here inside this container here we will be having air. Okay, and what we are going to do is we are going to provide heat at the bottom. Okay, so let us consider that this red color indicates some flames, that is the heating medium is over here, which will increase the temperature of air. So what is going to happen, let us say we are having some air particles which are located over here. Okay, these are all air particles. So what will happen here, actually our entire container is filled with air, but we will first focus on the air particles which are near to this flame. So what will happen, these air particles will get heated. The meaning of heated is they will become lighter, their density will decrease. Okay, so this will become light air particles. So air particles, okay, these are all light air particles, and here above this air particles will be slightly colder than this bottom particles, and they will be heavy. So this will be comparatively heavy air particles. Okay, so what will happen, that because of this density difference, this light particles will move upward, and this green particles which are actually heavy and cold particles will come down. So there will be upward movement, of light particles and downward movement of heavy particles. So this process will keep on repeating. So this green particle will come down, they will become lighter, then they will again move up, and heavy particles will come down and they will again move up so this will keep on repeating. So what is going to happen here is there will be a complete circular motion of cold and heavy air particles coming down and light particles going up. So this will keep on happening, and these are actually called convection currents, and this is also a circulation of particles. So here the same thing was written in this PPT, that in free convection the circulation of fluid medium is caused by buoyancy effects, that is the density difference of cold and heated particles, and convection currents are defined as the circular pattern, that is upward movement of warm air and downward movement of cold air, and this is called as convection current. And here we are going to take another example just like that container having air. Instead of that, here we are having radiators, a boiler and water. So this is hot water heating system. So here let us say that we are living in cold environment and we are looking for heating our room, and let us say that our room are here somewhere, two rooms are there, and we need to heat them with the help of hot water. So here we are having boiler and here furnace, so water will get heated over here. So that is the whole arrangement of hot water heating system. So here water serves as a medium for carrying heat to all parts of the building. So water is heated in the boiler, gets warmer and lighter and moves up in the left pipe. So here water is getting heated, so it will become lighter. As light water is lesser in density, it will move upward on this left hand side tubes or pipes. So as you can see here, it is written that light warm water rises and it is moving up, and then this light warm water enters into the radiators, that is here 2 in 2 radiators, where it dissipates heat. So here heat is dissipated by the hot water to the radiator, where the rooms get heated and thus the water becomes cool and heavier. So after passing through this radiator, water will become cold as well as heavy. So as you can see on the right hand side here, heavier and cold water descends, that is, it comes down. So here once it comes down, it will again enter into this boiler, where it will again get heated, and then the same cycle will keep on repeating. And for the remaining light water which further goes above, it will be stored in the overhead tank, and from overhead tank it will return to its boiler. So in this way, this is another example of free convection. And we will see another examples of free convections. First is chilling effect of cold wind on warm body. This can be experienced in air conditioned rooms. Second is cooling of billets in the atmosphere. Third is heat exchange outside the cold and warm pipes. And now we will study about forced convection. Forced convection, the flow of fluid is caused by a pump, fan or atmospheric wind. So in previous case, that was natural or free convection, it was purely happening due to the buoyancy effects or the difference in densities. That is, the difference in densities was sufficient enough for the flow of fluid. However, natural or free convection doesn't provide that higher rate of heat transfer. So to increase the rate of heat transfer, we require some external means, that is mechanical devices, which are pump, fan or atmospheric wind, that will help us to increase the transfer of heat. This mechanical device provides a definite circuit for circulating currents, and that speeds up the heat transfer rate. So examples of forced convection are flow of water in condenser tubes, fluid passing through the tubes of heat exchanger, cooling of internal combustion engines. So the last one is very day-to-day life example, in which let us say that you are having a two-wheeler and you are riding it at a speed of 40 km per hour. Then what is happening, that the internal combustion engine is getting heated because of its strokes and burning of fuel and the movement of piston inside the cylinder. At the same time, your two-wheeler is also moving with the speed of 40 km per hour, which is providing the wind, some form of wind or forced air, which will help in ultimately simultaneously cooling down of your internal combustion engine. So that is very well-known example of forced convection. Now, regardless of type of convection, whether it is forced convection or natural convection, The law which is governing this convection heat transfer is same, that is Newton's law of cooling. That is Q, which is equal to HATS minus TF. That is the Newton's law of cooling, where Q is convection heat transfer rate, A is area exposed to the heat transfer, Ts is surface temperature, and Tf is the fluid temperature, and H is heat transfer coefficient. So it is very simple equation. Q is equal to HATS minus TF, and regarding H, which is heat transfer coefficient, we will study about heat transfer coefficient in detail in the chapter of convection. Now the last mode of heat transfer, which is radiation. Radiation is transmission of heat in the form of radiant energy or wave motion from one body to another across an intervening space. So here, to understand this, let us say that we are having two bodies. This is body number 1, and let us say here we are having body number 2, and they are not in any kind of physical contact, and let us say that we are not having any fluid which will transfer the heat from body 1 to body 2. So what is going to happen? We will also take another one example, that let us say that this is at 400 Kelvin. This body is at 400 Kelvin, and let us say that this body is at 100 Kelvin. So as per our requirement of heat transfer, there is a temperature difference which is existing, and there will be obviously heat transfer. So what is going to happen, that here radiant energy or wave energy will transfer the heat from body 1 to body 2 in case of with the help of radiant energy, radiant or wave energy. That will be called as the radiation heat transfer. And here one important thing is that here we are having it can be a vacuum or it can be any other medium. So that is the thing I am trying to say, is between what is there in between body 1 and body 2. So there will be a vacuum or some medium between these two. So to repeat this part, radiation is transmission of heat in form of radiant energy or wave motion from one body to another body across an intervening space. This space can be either vacuum or any other medium. Unlike conduction or convection, transport of thermal radiation does not necessarily affect the material medium between the heat source and the receiver. The radiation most effectively occurs in vacuum. If a material is present between heat source and receiver, it will either reduce or entirely eliminate the propagation of radiant energy. So here in this figure, if If any material is not present and pure vacuum is there, then most effectively this radiation heat transfer will happen. However, suppose some medium is there, then this heat transfer will get reduced. Now, radiation occurs in three different steps. First is conversion of thermal energy of heat source in form of electromagnetic wave. So what is this? That is conversion of heat energy in electromagnetic waves. So here let us focus on body number 1, that all the bodies which are above absolute zero temperature are capable of emitting radiations. Again I am repeating that all the bodies which are above absolute zero temperature are capable of emitting the radiation energy. So what is going to happen, that as this is at 400 Kelvin, it will emit some radiation energy, and this energy will not be a continuous form of energy, it will be a successive and separate packets of energy. It will be a separate packets of energy which are known as photons, and this swarm of photons, that is group of photons, are known as electromagnetic waves. So here the heat energy which is present due to this 400 Kelvin temperature, it will be converted into the electromagnetic waves. Second is passage of wave motion through intervening space, that is, as it was shown in the figure, that is from body 1 to body 2 we are having some intervening space. So these waves, electromagnetic waves, will be passing through this intervening space, that is the traveling phase. And the third is transformation of waves into heat, that is exactly the opposite process of point 1. In point 1 there was a conversion of thermal energy into electromagnetic waves, and in third point there will be a conversion of electromagnetic waves into thermal energy. So here if you see, first here heat energy will be converted into electromagnetic waves, then this electromagnetic waves will be passing through this intervening space, which can be either vacuum or any other medium, and once it strikes this body, it will get this electromagnetic waves will get converted into a heat energy, so temperature of body 2 will increase. So these are three different steps in which this entire radiation process is happening. And the most common example or vivid example of radiation heat transfer is presented by the solar energy, which passes through the interstellar space on its way to Earth's surface. So this is very common and very obvious example of radiation heat transfer. The basic rate equation for radiation heat transfer is based on Stefan-Boltzmann law, and it is given by sigma b EB is equal to EB is the heat transfer which is equal to sigma BA into T raised to 4, where EB is the energy radiated per unit time. EB is the energy radiated per unit time. T is the absolute temperature of surface, and sigma B is Stefan-Boltzmann constant. So there are many other things which are there, which we should understand, like emissivity should be there, because this entire equation is purely for black body. And then other things will also come into picture, that for real bodies or gray bodies emissivity will be there, but we will keep our discussion up to this only for radiation part, because the same thing will also be studied in our radiation chapter. So we will keep this up to this basic equation which is applicable only for black bodies, and then we will go into detail in that chapter. So this is our end of introduction to the heat transfer, or our course introduction to this subject. We will do a quick revision of what we have done today. So the definition of heat transfer, that it predicts the energy transfer that takes place between material bodies as a result of temperature difference. So temperature difference is important for heat transfer, and heat transfer will provide answers. Heat transfer will provide answer to these questions, that is removal or addition of heat, temperature distribution, and amount of heat to be transferred, and time taken for the heat transfer. Then modes of heat transfer: conduction, convection, and radiation. And then the syllabus of our subject: first will be conduction, that is steady state heat conduction, heat transfer from extended surfaces, and transient heat conduction. This will start in our next lecture. Second is convection, third is radiation, fourth is heat exchanger, and fifth is two-phase heat transfer. So these are all our 5 chapters in our syllabus. Then these are all reference books that at least couple of them you can refer, and I will be following J.P. Hallman and Souvik Bhattacharya along with D.S. Kumar for this semester. Now we studied about the difference between thermodynamics and heat transfer. Here in thermodynamics we only deal with equilibrium states of matter, while heat transfer is purely a non-equilibrium process, and heat transfer can be expressed as thermodynamics plus rate equations. Then we studied about modes of heat transfer. Conduction is a microscopic form of heat transfer, and it is possible in 2 different ways. First is movement of free electrons, and second is vibrational energy in lattice structure. Then we took a simple example of a metal rod which is heated at one end. Then we studied about Fourier's law, which is only applicable for one-dimensional steady flow of heat conduction. And we will study about thermal conductivity in our next lecture. And we also defined heat flux. Then the second mode of heat transfer is convection. Convection is a process of heat transfer, energy transport affected by circulation or mixing of fluid medium. It is possible in 2 ways: natural or free convection and forced convection. And we also studied about convection currents with the 2 examples. First was air in the container, and second is hot water heating system, in which buoyancy effect or density difference is the reason for the convection. And we also saw the examples of free convection, then forced convection, in which we are using some mechanical devices, its examples, and the common equation for convection is Newton's law of cooling. And then we studied about radiation. Radiation occurs in 3 steps, and then the basic equation of radiation is given by the Stefan-Boltzmann law: EB is equal to sigma B A T raised to 4. So this is our end of introduction to heat transfer. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and see you in our next lecture. Thank you.